heart valve disease. It's a common, serious, but treatable condition, and it's primarily focused on aging, particularly affects people of aging. 1 out of 8 people over the age of 75 are currently expected to be living with heart valve disease. We expect that to double by 2040 and to triple by 2060. So it is a significant concern, and it is believed to be the next cardiac epidemic.
You should never have a physical examination in a healthcare facility without having listened to your heart, because this is the first way of detecting a heart valve disease. You will have murmurs. You will have murmurs because of the altered blood flow through the valves. So if you listen to the heart, you quite often will be able to diagnose a murmur. Then you have to go on to do a more specific examination, quite often an ultrasound examination or echocardiography. But that's the next step. Then you can actually pinpoint exactly what valve is deficient and how severely diseased is it. It is quite prevalent, and it increases with age and the way we get older, and it can be dangerous if it's not treated early, but there are a lot of treatments to be done, but then you have to diagnose it.
Well, from a patient perspective, I think there are a lot of obstacles and burdens along the patient journey. So I think one of the main challenges is to, as a patient, to identify and to admit, and also to detect that you are a heart valve patient yourself at all. So there's a lack of knowledge, like Martin said, about symptoms and about heart valve disease. Yeah. Today, I know I should have asked my GP for a stethoscope check, because it's the third thing that you need, of course. But I don't want to blame her, but she never auscultated me in a period of 10-year time. So when she retired, her successor, immediately referred me to a cardiologist, because it was severe, it was urgent, and I was diagnosed with high-grade aortic stenosis and insufficiency, and the combination of both, and that was a shock for me and for my family. I'm married, have 2 kids, so that was quite hard for me. But I'm standing here, so I'm healthy, everything is fine, but at that time everything went very fast, very quickly. Just a few weeks later, I was implanted with a mechanical aortic valve, and yeah.
Our goal was to say, how do we depict what good looks like in terms of the patient pathway for heart valve disease? And how do we start with that, like this goal in mind of what good looks like, and then try to take a multidisciplinary perspective on what needs to happen to achieve that ideal, and do it at a European level, so that this is almost a starting point for policy engagement and also for advocacy. So that was sort of the remit that we had set ourselves. Is first of all, we said we need to take the patient perspective as like our guiding light for this whole process. And we need to always think what's important to the patient, what's important to the patient, and actually not what's important to the patient, what's important to the person. It's not, I hate that term patient journey, because it's not a journey, and the pathway I think is a much better phrase, but it's not a patient pathway, it's actually a person pathway. You're a person who gets a diagnosis, as Jens was saying, right? And then you suddenly become a patient. No one chooses to become a patient. And you don't want being a patient to define your life. You still have all the other factors of your life.
Personal learning, so to say, is heart valve diseases, they're common, but they should be taken seriously, but they are also treatable. And when treated, leads the living example to a longer life and also a higher quality of life.
When a person is with their doctor, the doctor is the expert, and thank God, the specialist expert. But there's no, what is going to matter to that individual? What they want to know about this intervention is going to be very different depending on your life circumstances. And of course, good doctors all know that. But I think, if all of us have been a patient, and you just become a different person. you get scared, the questions that you had prepared at home go, and so I think we should never take that for granted, and that what matters to patients, we should always interrogate ourselves about whether we're really doing things in the interest of the people who are the patients.
To have early diagnosis, to be able to see this could be a problem, and then rapid access to maybe not only treatment, sometimes just to somewhere to discuss what should we do. Is this something we don't need to worry about at all? Is this something that needs to be followed and at what intervals? And then discussion with patients. And also I think another one important thing is taking the patient perspective, because I've had patients who've said that I don't want to know anything, you just do what you think is the best. And they are quite happy with that. They are really not interested in having, and then I have patients who want to have every detail of everything that's going to happen every day. And you have to actually accept that, because we are different. We are different, all of us. And I think that's really important.